I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, pouring out the worst moment of my life like this, but I guess I have no choice. It all started with the engagement party. Big night, everyone dressed up, the kind of celebration that's supposed to be full of hope and promises. I was buzzing with excitement, feeling like I finally had everything I ever wanted. My wife, well, she's not really my wife yet, but she was about to be, and we'd been planning this for months. Everything was perfect, or so I thought. The place was packed, everyone smiling, glasses clinking. I remember the scent of fried food in the air and the faint hum of music in the background. My fiancée looked stunning. Her dress hugged her in all the right places, her hair cascading down her shoulders. I caught her eye across the room and she shot me that little grin I loved. For a second, everything felt right. That's when I saw her. She was laughing with her best friend, Jake. Not just talking, but leaning in close, touching his arm, biting her lip in that way she used to when she thought no one was watching. I froze. My stomach clenched. I thought maybe I was imagining it. Maybe they were just joking around. I took a step closer. That's when I saw the flash of a phone screen, her hand holding it and him leaning in, clearly close enough to kiss if they wanted to. The moment stuck in my head, the way she was looking at him like he was the only person in the world. I didn't shout. I didn't want to cause a scene. Instead, I just watched. They talked for a few seconds, then she handed him her phone. He looked at it, smirked, and tapped a few things. I saw the way her eyes flicked away, nervous, like she'd been caught doing something she shouldn't. My palms went cold. I knew then, this wasn't just innocent fun. This was something deeper, something hidden that she'd been hiding from me. I waited until they finished their conversation, then approached. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" I asked, voice tight. She looked surprised, then smiled that fake, innocent smile. "Sure, what's up?" I could feel my voice trembling just a little. "Who was that?" I nodded toward Jake. "And what were you two just doing?" Her face flickered. Her eyes darted away and she hesitated. Then she brushed it off with a laugh, saying, "It's nothing, just a joke, don't overthink it." But I didn't buy it, not for a second. That's when I made the mistake of not pushing harder. I was stunned, confused, more than that, betrayed. I didn't have the full picture yet, but I knew enough to know this wasn't just harmless fun. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling back to that moment, replaying their faces, the way she looked at him. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray me like that right in front of everyone? And the worst part, I'd been blind to the signs for months. The late nights, the secretive texts, the little excuses she'd throw out when I asked about her phone. All of it was just a cover-up, a distraction from what she was really doing. I remember the feeling in my chest, hot, tight, like being punched in the stomach. I clenched my fists so hard I thought they'd bleed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her until she told me the truth. But instead I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of it all crushing me. That was the moment I realized I couldn't trust her anymore. Not after this. Not when she lied so easily, so casually, like our whole relationship was just a game to her. I had to do something. I had to plan my next move. But even as I thought about revenge, a tiny voice inside warned me, be careful. Once you cross that line, there's no going back. Still, I couldn't let her get away with it. I needed justice. I needed to know why she did it and how I was supposed to trust again when everything I believed in was shattered. I looked around the room, feeling the eyes of everyone at the party on me, and I thought, this isn't just about catching her. It's about what comes after. Because once I find out the truth, I won't be the same. And I sure as hell won't let her get away with lying to me, not without a fight. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her smile, the way her eyes darted away when I confronted her. I kept replaying that moment at the party, trying to piece it together, trying to understand how she could do this to me. It was like my stomach was constantly twisting in knots, the kind of ache that makes your head pound and your palms sweat. I felt betrayed, furious, and somehow helpless all at once. The next morning, I woke up with a plan already forming in my head, something I'd never thought I'd do. I wasn't going to just sit around and cry about it. No, I wanted to see what she was hiding, to catch her in the act if I could. I started digging. It was subtle at first, checking her phone when she wasn't looking, scrolling through her messages, her social media. I noticed little things, missed calls from Jake, texts that disappeared fast, vague excuses when I asked about where she'd been. One thing that caught my eye was her phone bill. I wasn't snooping just to snoop. I wanted answers. And there it was, a string of calls and texts between her and Jake, late at night, secretive. It wasn't just friendly banter, I could see that plain as day. The words weren't explicit, but they carried a weight. They'd been talking for months, hiding it from me. Every message was a nail in my chest. I started feeling sick every time I thought of her lying, pretending everything was fine. My stomach turned and my hands got clammy. I needed to know the full story. I decided I would follow her, not to stalk her, but just to see where she went, who she saw, what she did when she wasn't with me. I found myself parking outside her favorite coffee shop, watching her leave with her bag over her shoulder, her hair catching the morning sun. She looked so normal, so innocent. That's what made it worse. She was lying so well it almost fooled me. One afternoon, she left the house without her phone. I saw her slip it into her pocket before heading out. I knew then I had to get it. I waited until she was gone, then grabbed her purse. Heart pounding, I fumbled with the clasp, feeling like a damn thief but knowing I had to do it. The moment I opened her purse, my stomach dropped. There it was, her phone sitting right on top, unlocked. I hesitated for a second, then unlocked it. What I found shocked me more than I expected. Texts, photos, even voice messages, all between her and Jake. They were more than just friends, and they'd been planning things, hiding it from me. There were photos of her in private, smiling with Jake. I saw the messages where she called him her escape, the one who understood her, and he replied with something I could clearly read. "Can't wait to see you tonight." I felt my chest tighten and my vision blurred at the edges. My hands were trembling as I scrolled through the messages. It was like a punch to the gut, proof, clear and undeniable, that she'd been lying to me for months. All the times she said she was working late or out with friends, I now knew they'd been with him. I could see her planning secret meetings, exchanging flirtatious messages, and most of all, lying straight to my face. I sat there, trembling, clutching her phone, feeling a boiling mix of rage and heartbreak. I wanted to smash it, throw it against the wall, but instead I just turned it off and put it back. I knew I needed a clear head, but the hardest part was already done. I knew the truth. The lies, the betrayal, they were all there in black and white. I didn't need more proof. I felt like I had become a stranger to myself that day, knowing that I'd been blind to the woman I loved and that she'd been playing me for months. As I sat there, staring at the ceiling, I realized this wasn't just about finding out she cheated. It was about what I was going to do with that knowledge. Could I ever trust her again? Was there a chance to forgive, to rebuild what was broken? Or was this the end? I didn't have the answers yet, but I knew one thing. Once I decided to act, there was no turning back. Nothing would be the same after this. And deep down, I knew I wouldn't let her get away with it without consequences. That's when I started planning my next move. It was clear I'd have to be clever. Confronting her directly might push her further away or make her lie even more. No, I needed to be strategic. I had to catch her in the act, but without her knowing I was onto her. I'd set the trap, and once I had her cornered, I'd finally get the answers I needed, no matter how much it hurt. Over the next few days, I kept my cool on the surface, but inside I was boiling. Every time I saw her, I felt the urge to lash out, to scream at her for the betrayal. But I knew that wouldn't get me anywhere. I had to be smart. I had to be patient. So I kept digging, planning my move carefully. I started talking to some friends about what I'd discovered, trying to get their perspective. Most warned me to be careful, to avoid doing anything reckless. But I also knew I couldn't just sit around forever pretending everything was fine. I needed to know how deep this went, and I needed to do it without tipping her off. One night, I decided to set a trap. I knew she was planning to meet Jake again. The messages confirmed it. I wanted to catch her red-handed, but I also wanted her to think I didn't know. So I told her I had a late meeting at work, that I'd be out of town for a couple of days. She didn't object, just kissed me goodbye and left with her bag over her shoulder, her face looking a little too casual. I went straight home and I waited. I set up my phone on a tripod, recording the hallway just in case. I kept everything quiet and still, feeling the sweat on my palms, heart pounding in my chest. I was nervous more than I thought I'd be. I kept telling myself, just get the evidence, make her admit it. That's all I wanted. Around midnight, I saw her car pull up outside. She stepped out, looking around nervously. I held my breath. She knocked softly on the door of Jake's house. No hesitation, just a quick rap. I watched as she entered and I stayed hidden, fingers clenched into fists. I couldn't believe she was actually doing it. She was cheating again, right in front of my face. The hours dragged on. I kept the camera rolling, capturing everything. Her leaving, her coming back, the way she looked over her shoulder like she was afraid of getting caught. Every sound in the house felt deafening. When finally I saw her climb into her car, I exhaled slowly. I had all the proof I needed. Next morning I confronted her. I waited until she was still in bed, then slipped her phone onto the nightstand. I woke her gently, but her face quickly shifted to confusion when she saw me sitting there holding her phone. "What's this?" I asked, voice cold, eyes fixed on her. She blinked, then tried to shrug it off. "It's nothing. Just some messages I forgot about, nothing serious." Her voice was shaky and I saw her eyes flicker with guilt. That's when I slid the video footage from my phone onto her screen. Her face paled as she watched herself sneaking in and out of Jake's house. "You lied to me," I said, voice trembling with rage. "All this time I thought you loved me, that I was the only one, but you've been sleeping with Jake behind my back. How long has this been going on?" She looked down, tears welling up, but she said nothing. I felt the anger bubble up like a volcano ready to erupt. "You've been lying about everything," I continued. "All those nights when you said you were working late, all those promises you broke. Turns out I was just a fool. I gave you my trust and you threw it away." She finally looked at me, eyes red and puffy. "I never meant for it to happen. I was confused and I didn't know how to tell you. I never wanted to hurt you." "Too late for that," I said sharply. "You know what? I've had enough. I can't do this anymore." I grabbed her keys from the table and handed them to her. "Here, take your stuff. You're leaving. Don't come back." Face crumpled, but she didn't argue. She just nodded slowly, collecting her things. I watched her walk out the door, feeling a strange mix of relief and hollow emptiness. I had the proof, I had the words, and I'd finally done something I'd been contemplating for days. As she drove off, I sat on the couch, feeling the coldness settle in my chest. I looked at her empty side of the bed and thought about everything I'd lost. The trust, the future, the love I thought was real. It dawned on me that I might never trust again. Not after this betrayal. The worst part, I still didn't know how to rebuild myself from the wreckage, but I knew one thing: I wasn't going to let her lie her way back into my life. Not after what I'd seen, not after what she'd done. I had to start healing, but right now, I just felt raw, exposed, and empty. And I wondered how long it would take before I could even think about trusting someone again. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. Her absence was deafening, the silence in the apartment almost oppressive. Every corner, every piece of furniture seemed to echo memories of us, things I could no longer claim as ours. I spent hours pacing, trying to make sense of what had happened, but mostly I just felt numb. The betrayal had carved deep into me, and I wasn't sure I'd ever fully recover. I kept replaying everything: her lies, her betrayal, the secret meetings with Jake. Sometimes I'd find myself staring at my phone, tempted to call her, just to hear her voice, to hear her deny everything again. But I never did. I knew that wasn't the point anymore. The damage was done. I needed to do something that would make her regret it, make her realize what she'd thrown away. One thing that kept gnawing at me was the idea of making her see how much she'd hurt me without just yelling or crying. I wanted her to feel the loss, the pain of knowing she'd shattered what we had, something I thought was unbreakable. That's when I started devising my plan. I wanted her to realize that her actions had consequences, that I was capable of more than just heartbreak. I was capable of making her see her mistake firsthand. I reached out to a friend who knew about the whole situation, someone who'd been through similar betrayals. "I need a way to make her understand," I told him one night, voice hoarse. "Something she won't forget. I want her to feel what I feel now: betrayed, humiliated, angry." He looked at me for a long moment, then said, "You want revenge, but you've got to be careful. Don't let her pull you down to her level. If you're going to do this, do it right. Make her realize what she lost without destroying yourself in the process." His words hit me hard. I realized I was so blinded by fury I might do something reckless. But I also knew I wasn't about to let her walk away without consequences. I was tired of feeling powerless, tired of feeling like I'd been played. I wanted her to see the damage she'd caused, to understand that this wasn't just about cheating. It was about trust, respect, and the love I thought we shared. That night, I started planning something more calculated. I wanted her to see her mistake in a way she couldn't deny. I knew her weakness, her vanity, her need for validation, and I decided to exploit it. I set up a fake social media account, one that mimicked a new admirer, someone who'd praise her beauty, her intelligence, her amazing qualities. I used a different number, a different email, and started sending her messages. At first, she was dismissive, brushing it off as some random admirer. But as the messages kept coming, compliment after compliment, she started to get curious. I watched her from a distance, saw her sneak peeks at her phone, her cheeks flushing slightly. It was working. I was making her feel wanted but also vulnerable. She had no idea who was behind it, and I was going to keep it that way. Then I made it more personal. I sent her a message telling her I knew about her affair, that I had proof, and that I was watching her. I made sure to include details only she would recognize, things she'd told me in confidence, moments that she'd think no one else knew. Her reaction was priceless. Her fingers trembled as she read, and her face went pale. "Who's this?" she texted back, voice trembling. She hesitated, then typed again, "Stop messing with me. I don't know what you're talking about." I didn't reply right away. Instead, I kept quiet, watching her panic grow. That's when I started sending her little clues, snippets of her own secrets, things I'd collected from her phone. It was like a puzzle she couldn't escape from. Every message reminded her of how exposed she was, how everything she tried to hide was now in my hands. It was working faster than I expected. Her mood shifted from indifference to paranoia. She'd start rushing her texts, trying to cover her tracks. I could see the sweat on her brow, the thrill of watching her unravel, knowing I had the upper hand, was intoxicating. I finally felt like I was regaining control. One evening, she finally snapped. She called me, voice harsh and trembling. "Who are you? What the hell is going on? Stop this now, or I swear I'll go to the police." I kept my cool. "It's funny you say that, because I've got all the evidence I need. You lied to me for months. You cheated, and now you're trying to cover it up. If you want this to stop, you'll come clean first. But I'm not letting you walk away without knowing how much you've hurt me." She went silent for a long pause, then finally whispered, "I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. Please just leave me alone." That was the moment I realized I had her exactly where I wanted her. She was cornered, exposed, and her silence was my victory. I didn't need to threaten her anymore. Her own guilt was doing that for me. I knew I'd push further, but for now, I just wanted her to understand that her betrayal had consequences she couldn't ignore. I was done being the fool. Soon she'd see what real loss felt like, and I was ready to make sure she never forgot it. The next few days felt surreal. I kept my distance, but inside I was brewing a storm. Everything I'd uncovered, the texts, the photos, her panic, all pointed to one thing: she was truly caught. That night, I sat alone in the dim glow of my laptop, going over every detail of my plan. I wasn't just going to confront her anymore. I was going to make her understand exactly how badly she'd messed up. I had been meticulous. I set up a fake email account, crafted a story about an admirer who knew her secrets, and started sending her subtle yet pointed messages. I played it slow, giving her just enough to keep her hooked, to make her think she was in control. I kept her on edge, waiting for her to think she was uncovering something new, something I'd planted all along. The messages started to chip away at her composure. I saw her tense up, her eyes darting to her phone whenever it buzzed. She'd text back carefully, trying to hide her anxiousness, but I could see right through it. I'd tell her things only she'd know, details from our past, moments she thought were private. Every message was a blow, a reminder that I'd taken back the control she thought she had. One night, I sent her a message that made her stop in her tracks. I told her I knew everything: the affair, the lies, the secret meetings, that I'd been watching her and that she couldn't run from it. I made sure to include a line about how I'd seen her sneaking out of Jake's house, how I knew she'd been lying to me for months. The next morning, she called me. Her voice was shaky, almost pleading. "What do you want from me? Why are you doing this?" I kept my tone calm but firm. You've betrayed me, lied to my face. I want you to see what you've done. I want you to feel the pain you caused me. If you want this to stop, you have to come clean right now." She hesitated, then whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to turn out like this. I was confused and I didn't know how to tell you." That's when I hit her with the final piece. I knew she'd been hiding her meeting with Jake the night I set the trap. I'd caught her on my camera, sneaking out of the house, trying to keep everything secret. I played the footage for her. Her eyes widened with shock and fear. "You see," I said, voice cold, "I have everything. The proof, the evidence, and I'm done. I want my life back. I want you to leave and never come back. You can't betray me and expect to keep everything the same." Her face crumpled. She looked broken, defeated. I handed her a box of her things, the keys to her apartment, and told her to pack up. I didn't want to yell anymore. I just wanted her gone. Watching her walk out the door for the last time, I felt this strange mix of relief and emptiness. But I knew this wasn't the end. I wasn't just doing this for revenge. I was doing it to reclaim my dignity. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that trust had been shattered beyond repair. How do you come back from betrayal like that? How do you ever look at someone the same way again? I stayed up late, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything she'd put me through. The lies, the secrets, the betrayal. I wondered how long I'd been blind to it all, how many signals I'd ignored. Could I really forgive her? Could I forgive myself for not seeing it sooner? I didn't have answers, only questions. What I did know was this: I was done begging for trust. I was done pretending everything was okay. I had taken back my life, and now it was time to heal. I didn't plan to rush into anything new. For now, I'd focus on me. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that trusting again would be a long road, maybe the longest journey I'd ever take. The days after she left were the hardest. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the city outside, a stark reminder that life still moved on, whether I was ready or not. I spent a lot of time just sitting on the couch, staring at the empty space where she used to sleep, feeling the ache of betrayal settle deeper into my bones. I kept replaying everything: the moment I saw her with Jake, the lies she told, the sneaking around. It all felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I wondered how I hadn't seen it sooner, how I'd been so blind. Trust isn't just about believing someone won't hurt you. It's about feeling safe, feeling sure, and I hadn't felt that way in months. Now I knew that was gone, shattered by her betrayal. I knew I had to rebuild, not just the apartment but myself. Trust, I realized, isn't something you just flip on and off. It's fragile, built over years, shattered in a second. And once broken, it's almost impossible to piece back together. But I had to try, for myself. I had to learn how to move forward, even if a part of me was still angry and confused. People kept asking me if I'd try to forgive her, if I thought I could ever trust again. Honestly, I didn't know. Maybe someday, maybe not. But I did know this: I'd taken control of my life back in that moment when I set the plan in motion. I'd faced her. I'd shown her I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. That alone made me feel stronger then. I had in a long time. I took the keys to the apartment and filed for divorce. Not because I wanted to punish her, though part of me did, but because I needed clarity. I needed to separate myself from the chaos and lies. I told myself that I deserved honesty, respect, and someone who didn't lie and cheat behind my back. I deserved to feel safe again. Looking back, I see now how much I grew from all this, how betrayal, as painful as it was, forced me to confront my own limits. I learned that trust is a gift, easy to give but hard to earn back once lost. I also learned that revenge, when done with intention and control, can be a way to reclaim power. But most importantly, I learned that healing is slow, and sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, rebuild, and let time do its work. So here I am, a few months later. The wounds are still fresh, but they're healing. I've started dating again, cautiously, testing the waters. I don't trust easily anymore, but I'm learning to trust myself. I know now that I don't need someone who betrays me to be whole. I'm enough. And I will find someone who respects that. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone reading this, it would be this: trust is fragile. Protect it, but don't hold on to it so tightly that you lose yourself. When someone betrays that trust, you have two choices: fight for it or walk away. I chose to walk away because I realized I deserved better. And if there's one thing I've learned through all this, It's that sometimes the greatest act of strength is knowing when to let go. Life goes on, the pain will fade, and one day you'll look back and realize that even in your darkest moments, you found a way to stand tall again.